Hi there, you're about to watch a live family constellation session. Just bear in mind that this video has been condensed down from a whole 1 hour long session with the client, so I can bring to you the key points of what goes on in a family constellation setting. You will see revelations coming out about the family, insights about how some events or family members can pull us back, and ways that family constellation work can bring a resolution to our clients. And with that being said, let's dive right in.
So he was living a double life, my dad. So he was living with someone else as well as us lot. There was a lot of sexual abuse that happened to me from my dad and somebody that lived in our family home. What you just said to Rebecca is exactly what my mum said to me.
So the way it works, family constellation, you need to bring a theme, an issue, so we can have a look at that.
Okay, so it would be around the behaviour of the feeling of anorexia. Self-esteem is low. There's an old wound that I would like to shift that will give me more confidence.
So if you can tell me your story, please.
Where should I start? Just father, mother?
Whatever you feel, whatever comes first to you. And how was the relationship with your father, between you and your father?
He was an alcoholic, so it was always very tense in the family home. I am also an alcoholic in recovery. I found I was always trying to please him. I was always trying to get love that wasn't available.
And how was the relationship between you and your mother?
Mum was always very worried, always very scared, never wanting to do anything. I felt like I had to look after Mum because she was very codependent on Dad. I felt that she was always needing my help, but I had an incredible attachment to her. My dad left my mum, so they separated when Mum was 55. He was living a double life, my dad, so he was living with someone else as well as us lot, so he was always very distracted and we didn't really know why.
And he married exactly the same woman?
He married the same woman.
Has he got kids with?
No, not that we know of. When he was 15, he was in a relationship with a man, and he had met this boy at all boys boarding school, and he had this friction with him and his father because his father told him he wasn't allowed this relationship.
Was it a homosexual relationship?
Yeah, it was.
How old are you when you started to have symptoms of anorexia?
13 and a half. I don't have the eating disorder part of the anorexia so much, but I certainly have anorexia in social, sexual, emotional. It can make me very socially withdrawn. It can shatter the self-esteem. And I think it's a lot of it's around sexual stuff that came under the age of sort of 10. There was a lot of sexual abuse that happened to me from my dad and somebody that lived in our family home.
I think we got enough information here to start your constellation. So what we're going to do here is I want you to pick representatives, one for yourself to represent yourself, another one to represent your father, and another one to represent your mom. I want you guys to bear in mind, don't think that you can act because it's not about acting. You're going to be helping me by just listening to your body sensations, and where you feel like going. If you feel like going that way, if you feel like it's liking that person, or if you feel angry, or if you feel like you even want to leave the room, you're going to be passing the information to me. Okay, so if you can just choose someone to be your mum, please.
Could I ask you to be my mum?
And one for yourself, yes.
Would you be able to represent me?
Yeah. So you do the same thing?
Would you be able to represent my dad?
If you guys feel the urge just to move around or going elsewhere, just do whatever you feel like doing. Yeah. Because you're representing her father, you are her mother, and you are Rebecca.
A minha mother, obrigado.
You want to go out?
I don't want to be here. I can't deal with it. That's her mother. That's the feeling I'm having.
Was a mother like this in the relationship with your family?
Absolutely.
And how do you feel, Rebecca?
Very anxious. There's lots of in the chest, like static electricity. Yeah, lots of racing heartbeat.
Your heart's racing.
Yeah, not very comfortable.
And how is the father feeling?
Yeah, I feel like being punished or excluded.
How do you feel when your father is closer to you?
Yeah, made anxiety a lot worse. Panicking now, like the next level.
And how do you feel being next to your daughter?
In and out, I want to be comforting, but also I don't want to be causing the panic or discomfort. So it's unsure what I can do.
Would you be able to choose someone to represent this symptom that you have, that you said this wound that you never really managed to heal, and it relates to your anorexia, your low self-esteem? Michael, how do you feel being the symptom?
Yeah, just immense pain. I can't move.
Is that how it felt? Impotent, that you couldn't do much? So you were Jill, you're her mom. So how did you feel as soon as the symptom came in?
I felt guilty. I felt a lot of guilt, and I needed to be with it as if I was the center of it. In a quite unpleasant way, I need to be very close to it.
How was your mother when she saw that you were having these problems with you?
She took me first to a clinic, but she was very much about panicky, didn't know how to cope. Why isn't Dad helping more? Why are you doing this? What's wrong with you? What is wrong with you is the big thing. What is wrong with you?
Okay. So I'm going to be asking you to say a few sentences, and you need to tell me if they feel true to your heart, because I might ask you to say a sentence that you go, no, that doesn't feel right. That doesn't make sense for me to say that. So just, if you can just tell me. So Lola, if you can just turn around and face Rebecca. Mum, I did it for you.
Mum, I did it for you.
How does it feel when you say that?
Like there's nothing there. There's no response.
How do you feel when she says that?
Empty.
Empty.
Exactly what she said. Empty.
Let me just try this sentence. I did it because I thought I could be a better partner to my father than you were.
I did it because I thought I could be a better partner to my father than you were.
How does it feel when I ask you to say this sentence?
Disjointed and heartachy.
Do you think that this sentence I ask you to say, do you think is true?
Yeah.
What do you feel when you hear this sentence?
I don't know, competition comes to mind, jealousy comes to mind, not looking at her as my daughter, looking at her as a woman.
What she just said, your mother, not looking her as my daughter and looking her as a woman, and competition. Was there some kind of rivalry between you and your mother to get your father's attention somehow?
what you just said to Rebecca is exactly what my mum said to me. So my mum said to me once, I think that you are more like the partner of Dad than I am. That hasn't left me, that comment. So that was when I was in about my 30s.
And that happened when you were in your 30s?
Yes, because Dad was objectifying us as 3 children, me in particular. And there was inappropriate. So Mum must have felt that in some way. And she was always just a busy. She was avoiding everything. She was never. She wanted to just not be around to all this sort of stuff that she couldn't deal with.
And how would you feel you being the symptom, hearing this?
Right now, I don't feel anything. I feel attracted.
To her, okay. And how would you feel hearing today?
Yeah, I feel responsible for you as my child, my daughter, having to behave or to think this way. I could have sorted out the relationship with your mom in a better way than what happened that made you imagine or think or do this.
How would you feel listening to this?
I feel like a bit of an afterthought. It's like sort of the centre of attention, but not at the same time. It's like there's so much emphasis on me and the issues that I cause that I feel like, yeah, I'm getting far more attention. Well, unsteady balance.
If you can say in this sentence, I knew what was happening and I chose to turn a blind eye.
I knew what was happening and I chose to turn a blind eye.
When you say this sentence, does it feel true to you or no? So in the relationship between your parents, was your mother aware that you were being sexually abused by your father? No.
Definitely not. No. Or by the man in the house. It was total shock when I was told her 20 years ago. Total shock.
So her information confirms that your mother was not aware
Yes,
at all.
but my mum still won't see it as my dad had that. She sees it as the lodger had that, but she will go very much like.
To protect her father.
Absolutely. Even now.
Sexual abuse and incest usually happens in the family because when the wife shuts down and is not open for sex, unfortunately the next victim will be the daughter, and unconsciously she will know that this is happening, and unconsciously knew that you're doing for your mother on your mother's place.
Yeah, makes sense. Totally sense.
So if you can say to your mother here, dear mum,
Dear Mum,
I did it for love.
I did it for love.
I did it because I loved you.
Did it because I love you.
How do you feel when you hear that?
Nothing really.
Is that how your mother is? When you say I love you, she doesn't really respond. How did?
Yeah.
Hmm?
Yeah. Very. Just. She's cold.
She's cold.
She's so cold.
So she's representing your mother well then.
Yeah.
Okay. If you can say to her, Rebecca, my dear daughter,
My dear daughter,
you didn't need to do this for me.
you didn't need to do this for me.
You are the daughter
You are the daughter
and not the wife.
and not the wife.
I'm the wife.
I am the wife.
How does it feel when you say that?
Very mixed feelings, very mixed feelings. That I want it to be true, but I'm fighting.
Mm-hmm. What have you got to say? Because you nodded your head.
The fight is I don't think my mum really did know whether she wanted to be the wife or not. And I think there was an element of her that thought, he's got eyes looking at someone else, so I can just get on with my... It was like an avoidance of her. She was quite happy in her own cocoon. And when the mother was speaking, saying wife, it just sounded really odd, because that's the sort of... My mum didn't... She would just go into more like, oh, don't be silly, I don't know what I am really. You know, she was always... Everything was joking, everything was funny, everything was not real.
So if you can just turn around and face your father. Dear Dad.
Dear Dad,
I did it for you.
I did it for you
Because I love you.
because I love you.
How does that feel?
Hurt to say that.
And how do you feel hearing that?
I feel sorry and sad for what happened. You didn't need to do that at all. I know you love me, but you could have expressed that a different way. I didn't help at all. Looking back now, I know I hurt you.
If you can say to your father, Dear Dad,
Dear Dad,
I'm your daughter
I'm your daughter,
and not your wife.
not your wife.
Please look at me with kind eyes.
Please look at me with kind eyes.
How do you feel when you say that?
Like I don't care. Like I'm looking down on him. Like he doesn't mean anything to me.
Is that how you feel now towards your father?
Definitely.
How would you feel listening to all these, being the symptom?
I feel bridge between these two. More attached here.
So the pain comes from here, from the father side.
Just attached here from Rebecca. But also linked to the mum.
Okay. And if you can just turn around and face the father, what do you feel when you face him?
I feel like I want to protect him somehow. Or defend him some way. Even though it hurts me.
How do you feel listening to that, Rebecca?
I'm not surprised, because I do feel like that. I do feel like I need to mother him sometimes.
That's what it feels.
Yeah, like mothering Dad.
So the thing is, because we are half our mothers and half our fathers, we're gonna be in a way kind of loyal to the both of them. So she loved her mother and still loves. So she'll be helping her mother to keeping this marriage going. When incest happens or sexual abuse, you do out of love for your mother and also for your father. And the symptom you've got is more connected to the father. So we need to look at your father, because it looks like you have excluded him from your heart. And it's a very contentious issue here, because yes, he's responsible for sexual abuse. He should take accountability for that. But what happens is that women that get sexually abused by the fathers, they never stop loving the fathers at soul level. Unconsciously, they will never stop loving the fathers.
Yeah.
And that's why he said he feels like protecting you. And it's not that we don't want him to not having any responsibility. No, he is responsible. In terms of your addiction, 80% of the cases are related with an absent father, or you trying to exclude your father inside you, or trying to not see your father. When sexual abuse happens, usually the abuser has also suffered a sexual relationship, and then passes on. And it will continue passes on until we actually try to look at the whole thing with kind eyes and compassion, which is really hard to do. It looks like your father suffered sexual abuse, probably from the master, we don't know.
Definitely from the boarding school.
Definitely from the boarding school, okay. So unfortunately that kind of gets past his own, and if we can look at that with compassion. So I'm going to bring you to the constellation. So if you can just say to me, please. And if you can just look at your father in the eyes. Dear Dad.
Dear Dad.
Every time I drink, it's because somehow I want to. To be closer to you. How do you feel when I say that?
Empty.
So what Bert Hellinger, he found on this work that addiction is to do with the absence of the father in the life. So every time, let's say you inhale a cigarette, you suck on a cigarette, you actually want to suck the absence of your father in. It's quite sexual what I'm saying, but that's what he explains in his book. Like you want that energy back in with you. Yeah. Somehow you want to be closer to him. Yeah. Does that make sense to you?
Makes total sense.
Because you said I feel empty.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's the love that I was so wanting from him.
And you never go.
And so I would definitely feel like that about addiction, is filling that love.
So if you can say to your father now, Dear Dad.
Dear Dad.
I miss you terribly.
I miss you terribly.
I know what you did was wrong.
I know what you did was wrong.
And I leave the responsibility with you.
And I'm going to leave the responsibility with you.
I did it out of love.
I did it out of love.
Because I loved you so much.
Because I loved you so much.
I thought I could fill the void.
I thought I could fill the void.
And the things that my mum didn't give to you.
And the things that Mum didn't give to you.
But the sexual abuse.
The sexual abuse.
That's your responsibility.
That's your responsibility.
I leave that with you.
I'll leave that with you.
How do you feel saying that, Rebecca?
I feel I'm putting it back, taking something off, and putting it over there.
Mm-hmm.
And I have little flashes coming in my head of lots of little things when I was really little, seeing them trying to have sex, and all these flashes coming in my head, and me being there and me feeling responsible. I feel like, lots of flashes. Dear Dad.
I leave all that with you now.
I leave all that with you now.
That burden is for you to carry.
That burden is for you to carry.
Not me.
Not me.
Dear Dad.
Dear Dad.
I'm sorry things didn't work out between you and Mum.
I'm sorry that things didn't work out between you and Mum.
I would have loved if you guys stayed together.
I would have loved it if you guys had stayed together.
How do you feel listening to this?
I feel relief. You are opening up to me with your real pain, and I take the whole responsibility, and
So if you can say to your daughter, Dear Rebecca.
Dear Rebecca.
My dear daughter.
Be my daughter.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I take full responsibility.
I take full responsibility.
And you can leave the burden now with me.
Yeah, you can leave the burden on me.
And this pain may end here.
This may end here. Yeah.
Dear Rebecca,
Dear Rebecca,
my beloved daughter,
my beloved daughter,
there is nothing else you can do for me
there is nothing else you can do for me
except
except
have a place in your heart
have a place in your heart
for me.
for me.
You will always have a place in my heart.
You always have a place in my heart.
Dear Dad,
Dear Dad,
I miss you terribly.
I miss you terribly.
And you will always have a place in my heart.
And you will always have a place in my heart.
I'm sorry if I've been absent.
I'm sorry if I've been absent.
I did that to protect myself.
I did that to protect myself.
But cutting you out of my life
But cutting you out of my life,
won't help me either.
no, won't help me either.
Dear Dad,
Dear Dad,
will you always have a place in my heart.
you will always have a place in my heart.
Please look kindly upon me
Please look kindly upon me
if I choose to live a happy life.
if I choose to lead a happy life. Every time I feel like drinking,
Instead, I'll be trying to fill my heart
I'll be trying to fill my heart
with your kind love.
with your kind love.
And remember
And remember
all the good memories
all the good memories
that we had together.
that we had together.
Because you were the right father for me.
Because you were the right father.
Dear Mom,
Dear Mom,
I love you.
I love you, Mom.
You are too the right mother for me.
You were too the right mother for me.
And thank you
And thank you
for the life you give to me.
for the life you've given to me.
So you can just give a big hug will be better.
Oh,
So sorry. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. Oh.
What a great afternoon, fantastic experience. Having done a lot of trauma counselling before, I would really suggest this to people. It taught me a lot about looking at my mum and dad in a completely different light. That shift was coming off from the blame of dad, and I felt like more was happening towards nurturing myself.
So there you have it, you just watched an example of a family constellation. Now bear in mind that her process, it won't be complete here. The clients still need to go away and do some self-reflection and potentially reconfigure how she sees herself within her family. But this is normal, this is all part of the healing process. And I'm also aware that in the UK, this form of therapy is not so known as it is in Brazil and in Germany. So if you have any questions, I will leave a link on the description. Feel free to reach out. And in the meantime, thanks so much for watching. Look after yourself. Bye bye. Take care.